Well, good evening. The old galloping hooves today were on at Randwick, and we had a slow track, a slow a slow six. The rail was 4 metres out. They said the worst part section of the track was between the 600 and the 900. Um, Close to the fence in the straight and on the turn, I suppose wasn't the place to be. Although, as we all know, in the distance race, the winner had finished off the fence, but was tied up against it when they turned for home. Um, Ridden by roving Robert Thompson, Pearl of Bells, but that's the distance race, the 2 mile race, um, the Stayers Cup. Um, and there was, anyway, we'll go through it, and there was a couple of runners that got up on the inside but then got off and ran good races. One of them even won. The first race here today, they said there was 107.7 on the screen. There was a good 7% less in the marketplace. These were the flux in the first. The top weight sweep Serendipity, who finished up running last, was beaten nearly 20 lengths. Ridden by Killer Kath O'Hara. She said it was very stirred up before they went onto the track. Come to the end of its preparation now, after the race, of course, and it's going for a spell. And it had a poor recovery rate. It was $5 out to $6.50 back into six. Burnabow, it was $3 out to $3.50 back into 3.30 or 20. Riker, 12 out to 26. Average went from $3.20 out to $3.80 back, starting 3.70 or 3.80. Northern Glory, the winner, plenty $6 given, $5.50. Started $5, and Mademoiselle $13, and the bottom one, Sassy Sister, a $61 chance, about good nearly 7% less there. And this race was won by Northern Glory, trained by Gay. Sat back in the field, which is not Gay's caper. I own the lead. Sat back in fifth position in the field of 7, and it rounded the second pickup near the line. Average, who drew barrier 1, was close to the fence turning for home, but then got to the middle of the track, or 6 out, but couldn't hold off Northern Glory, who got to the outside and beat it by a length. And it wasn't a bad win. The second horse, I suppose, maybe switched the alleys and it comes off the winner's back. It might have beaten it. There were some poor performances in that race. Number 2, Burnabow, the rider, said that it didn't handle the going. The second race, losing figures on the screen here for the robots, 99.9, call it 100, but there was about 5% less in the marketplace. This race was won by Madam Nash. Well, they returned at $5 a 4-to-1 chance. Well, they were $6 when they jumped. It was sensationally backed. It was $9 into $5.50 at one stage, and it went pretty good. It didn't, once it got to the lead, ridden by Father Schofield, it did roll along and was going a little bit. Well, the riders behind were all quizzed by the Stipes. The Stipes asking quite a few riders in this race, why didn't you take off? It was funny, when they got to the 800-metre mark, of course, the winner was a good dozen lengths clear. And there were a few runners in this race that were all tripping over each other, trying to get runs, especially numbers 3, 4 and 5. Sweet talking woman who finished up making up a mile of ground. Also Lysteria, and also Lucky Mourner. They got tangled up back in the field. But this winner, as I say, did run along fast. There were some workmen leaning over the fence at the 800-metre mark, and of course the winner, Madam Nash, went past. Then all of a sudden the rest of the field came along, and they yelled out, they said, "You know this is it, don't you?" And all the riders, they said, "Oh, we better get going." And they got going to chase it. A lot of them thought they had to go around again, of course. But this was it. Once they got to the turn down to the post, that was the end of the race. Being facetious, but this winner, I doubt whether they would have anything that would have tried to run along with it, unless something tackled it and went really fast with the winner. I doubt. Well, it most probably which other runner in the race, if there would have been one to keep up with it, they would have dropped out and been beaten a long way. The winner kept on going and finished up winning by 3 lengths. Gee whiz, this was his third run back from a spell. The Chris Waller Magic was waved over this runner. It went like a rocket compared to the Billy Cart, its previous 2 starts. It trotted in, as I say, sweet talking woman made up a lot of ground. The winner sensationally backed. Not a caser for it at the other 2 starts, of course. Race, but anyway, that's good luck to them. Race 3, they said there was 108 on the screen and only 106. What am I talking about? Only 106. Only 106 is fantastic. 6% we got here in this race. Only 2% less than the marketplace. The discrepancy here is with the SP. Well, $2.70 was given about the favourite for a start, Chewy Chop. I might have even seen better than I might have seen 280. Best luck was, I think, 260, and they returned at 230. Excuse me. They returned at 230. I was 250 when they jumped, and you could have backed it with me. I would have given you a good bet at the 250. I must admit I didn't like it. Thought the inside was a little bit iffy, and it did draw barrier 1, which I thought was going to be make it a little bit more difficult for it. It did run a great race, the favourite Chewy Chop, and finished up running 3rd, only beaten 1.5 lengths, and it was close to the fence, getting off in the straight after trying to angle clear, but drawing the inside, I suppose, didn't help it. This race was won by Red Excitement. It was very well backed. All the $21 disappeared, opened up 17, a 16 to 1 chance, got out to $21, came back into about its opening quote, around about a $17 chance, 16 to 1. And it got into a lovely position. It sat in about six hole, well off the fence with cover, and ridden by Josh Adams, his first city winner back since he got back, and he excuse me, it got down to the line and won by half a length, but it did find the right section of the track. Single style in that race. The horse that ran second, it did draw very wide, and unfortunately it pulled on the rider, pulled its way up to the leaders coming to the turn, 3 wide, and it got clear after they topped the rise, and it stuck on very well. Only beaten a half a length, excuse me, and it ran a very good race. As I say, pulled on its rider, and it might have been a bit stiff, but it was out wide where the best section was. Race 4, they said there was 110.4 on the screen, about 4% less in the marketplace, around about 106, but still positive figures for the captains. And this race was won by Oakfield Commands, who proved its last win was no fluke. It sat in behind the pace, I think about 6th or 7th position. I haven't quite, I haven't dissected this the full this meeting yet, but it got a bit of a cosy run. It wasn't on the fence, but when they turned for home, it was able to get a split, and it burst through. It showed great acceleration, and the race was over not long after they had topped the rise. It got well clear, and it was up to Eggleston, the import, who was resuming from a spell today, drawn out in not close to the fence, but about it came in a couple of runners, I think. It was off the fence, and it made up plenty of ground. I don't think it'll be too long before it wins a race in Sydney. Eaglestein, it made up plenty of ground, and it was backed. It was $31 into 26. It went off very early, I suppose, because of where it was going to be positioned in the run. Ran a good race. River of Salvation, it cut the corner on the worst section of the ground. It had got to the lead when they hit the rise, when they got the rise, but they, as I say, the winner got past it very quickly. It finished up just hanging on for third position and was in the worst section of the track. There were a few bad performances in the race. Number 9, it would have been in the worst section. It never travelled. I'm talking about Hendrickus. The rider saying it never travelled, and there are a few excuses for a couple of other runners who might have been a bit close. But the winner, it was hard to take anything away from it because it did find the line very strongly. Race 5, they said there was 104 on the screen, and in the marketplace we bet about the neat 100, an even 100 in the marketplace. And this race was the Stayers Cup over the 2 mile distance, and it was won by Pearl of Bells, who drew barrier 1, always was third on the fence, excuse me, and before the turn it was travelling very, very well, getting up inside the leader. The leader was at that stage the Offer, who was under pressure. Pietro, who was always up in second or third position. It had taken over just coming to the turn, but the winner, I know before that, that's right, Thurbian made a mid-race move, and the run of Wallers that had been racing in Melbourne, it made a mid-race move and had gone around and taken the lead from Piazza San Pietro, and the winner always was in the cosy position third, got inside them all on the turn. You could see it was travelling better than any other runner. It won by 6.8 lengths. The wet track distance race, the one-pace puggers, it was very easy to see there could have been a big margin in this race, and it turned out to be 6.8 lengths. It beat the Thurbian, who took off a bit early, but no way in the world it would have beaten the winner. And the very honest Piazza San Pietro, who got conditions to suit underfoot, it plugged into third hole, beaten 7.6. All the others were very, very disappointing. They're a very ordinary bunch of stayers. The 6th race, they said there was 105.1 on the screen. Well, there's a good maybe 6 less, about 99 only in the marketplace, without going through it. There, as I say, about 6% less. And this was a very, very good performance by the horse that started favourite. It went up favourite. She's Clean at $4.60. Got out to plenty of $5, but only started, well, it started, I think, they might have returned to $4.20 or even $4. I was $4.40 like a fool when they jumped, and I was quite happy in the run. When they jumped, there were 1, 2, 3, 5. There were 13 runners in this race. It drew the outside alley. It jumped with the field, if not in front. But then the rider, Jay Collette, he realised that he didn't want to force the issue by going forward, and he eased, and a little bit of pace appeared in this race. Well, no, what am I saying? The story was here, Zaratone, the leader that, the runner that everybody had leading on their maps by a clear margin. There was an announcement, I think, within 1 minute to go, that there was a mix-up somewhere between whatever it was. The stewards never received the information that it was going to be ridden, tried to be ridden with cover. And as I say, that information was only given with 1 minute to go. I think they returned at 15. As soon as I heard that, I twisted it, got it out to $21. I did get something out of it at that price, and even though it was to be ridden back, ridden by Killer Kath O'Hara. Of course, the horse had too much pace, and she tried to steady it, but it pulled its way up inside runners. Neeson, who ran second, was 3 wide outside the lead, and in between there was the 3-year-old filly, the only 3-year-old in the race, No Looking Back, and they didn't go really hard. And this winner, instead of staying wide, he eased on it, and he went back to second or third last position, and slotted in behind them, and then went back towards the fence coming to the turn, and got inside runners, and went out after the leader, who had got clear after topping the rise. Got a couple of lengths clear, Neeson, and it looked to be very hard to beat. But then you saw coming up on the inside this very honest mare. She's Clean, and she finished up going around. It was inside, as I say, close to the fence, but then finished up switching around Neeson's heels with about a half a furlong to go, and won by a half a length. A very, very good performance. She is very, very honest, and it was extremely well backed, as I say, starting favourite. Rarefied went from $5.50 out to as much as $8, starting that price. And News Alert, who was tucked in 4th position, it ran 3rd. What was I going to say? I was going to say something in that race, and I forget what it was. And that's about, it must have been very important, but that was about all you would say there. We got to race 7, and they said there was 106.4 on the screen, and only about 4 less in the marketplace, about 102.5. And this race was well, that's what I was going to say. It would have been, in race 6, it would have been a great result for the captains, the second horse, Neeson, because it was resuming from a spell today, and a new stable from Joe Pride. It was having its first start for the Hawks team, and it went up an $8 chance, a 7-to-1 chance, and got out to $15.14. So it opened up 7s and got out to 14s. It doubled its opening price. There wasn't a caser for it, and it would have been a great result for the captains. Race 7, well, this was a great result for the captains worldwide. We put it up $21. I didn't see $26 on any board on the ground, but it didn't firm from the 21, and stayed at its opening quote all the way through betting. It was the only runner not to fluctuate, and surprisingly, how many times when you see that happen, that they do win. As I say, it was 20s to 20s, and it was given a good ride in this race. Excuse me, holy moly, it went out with a big lead ridden by Tommy Hewitt. It sped away with a good 5 to 6 lengths lead at one stage from Capers, who was extremely well backed, from $9 into $6 Capers, from 8s into 5s, extremely well backed. It was sitting second, Capers. In third position on its outside was Leprechaun, and then looking at that pair, another 2 to 3 lengths away was the winner, travelling off the fence, well off the fence, looking at the 2 chasing the leader, excuse me, was Worldwide. And when they topped the rise, the leader gave in fairly quickly, and ridden by Killer Kath, the winner, Worldwide, was able to get past the 2 in front of it very easily, and it was over after they had topped the rise. And coming out after it was the second horse, Destiny's Kiss, who made up a lot of ground. Excuse me, beaten 1.5 lengths, but it was never ever going to catch the winner. The winner won well. It stuck on for third. Scottish Border, it came from back in the field, but was beaten 4.8 lengths. The winner trotted in. Then we got to the last race. They said there was 108.4 on the screen, and there was a good 7% less in the marketplace. Excuse me. These were the flux in the last. Sniper's Bullet went from 31 out to 51. Wild and Proud was 31 out to 71, back to 51. A cup of tea from $4.60 out to $7.50, back into $6. A Gister never had a price, 15 out to 21. But Pet, now at the finish, they returned at $4. You could get $4.40 on the rails when they jumped. It went from $3.20 to $4.40. Excuse me. Under the Sun, the winner, very well backed. You wouldn't see it, but it's $5.50 given on the rails. And they returned at $4, equal favourite with Pet, but both of them were $4.40 when they jumped on the rails. But as much as $5.50 given the winner, best backed runner. Number 7 was Charing Cross, stablemate to the winner. It went from 16 out to 26. Another stablemate to the winner, Samui Lad, it went from 12 out to 21, or even 26. Number 9 was Stratana, 20 out to 51. Viking Legend, 51 out to 101. Number 11, Brian's Honour, $11 given. It started $10. It might have even started $8. The next runner, Pretty Pins, who made up a mile of ground, it was $13 into $10, hard to get. Bay Window was 31 into 26, and Skateboard was 17 into 16. As I say, about 7% less in the marketplace. This race was won by Under the Sun, who was given a good ride, even though it was off the track. It was half karting with cover. It led early in the piece. By the stablemate Samui Lad with underneath it the other stablemate Charing Cross. The winner was looking at the pair early on, with Bay Window pushing up in between runners. When they got turned to home, the winner was really travelling well in the right section of the track, whereas the second horse, Cup of Tea, unlike last start when it did run down Under the Sun, today he came through close to the fence from third last position, close to the fence in the worst section of the track, but it couldn't get far enough off the fence. Only went down by half a length. Switched the alleys. Cup of Tea before the race, we all knew it had barrier 1, and that's where it was going to be, and that's where it finished up, on the turn at least, close to the fence, which wasn't the place to be, whereas the winner always had sucking up cover, and it got enough break to beat, as I say, Cup of Tea by half a length, and making up a lot of ground from last position was Pretty Pins, going to the line better than any runner in the race, but never ever going to catch the leaders, but made up a ton of ground into third hole. That was about the meeting. Nothing else really to say there. We of course, this is the long weekend. We have Randwick is on again on Monday, and I think I said the other day, why in the wide world would you have Hawkesbury is on tomorrow, and plus another meeting somewhere else in New South Wales. I'm only talking about New South Wales. On Monday, besides Randwick, we have other meetings on, and then of course all you punters, if you want to, on Tuesday, I think there's a meeting on at Bathurst. Well, you know, that's great, but these meetings during the week, that we have now on at these country centres, nobody attends these meetings. It's all put on for the TAB. They all used to be on the Saturday, of course. Bathurst could have been on today, and people who are up around that area, well, they could have gone to the races at Bathurst, make it a non-TAB meeting. You have bookies there betting on Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. It was Brisbane Cup Day, and they would have got a good little crowd there, of course. But no, they've got Bathurst on Tuesday, where there'll be a couple of poor bookies who have got to turn up to entertain maybe one or two punters who are playing playing Betfair, or the Betfair crushers, and no one else. And the horses that'll be running around there, the TAB, well, of course, you subsidise, don't you? You give them $200 to turn up, half of the $200 to turn up, so they'll race, and the punters you'll get 200, more than 200 out of them in the tab. Why don't there's some shareholders there say to the tab, wait there, instead of paying these, giving these runners, these people, the trainers or connections, whatever it is, $200 to turn up, why don't you, well, half of the field, half of the runners that are at Bathurst on Tuesday, well, a lot of them you could buy for $400. Why doesn't what is the tab ever thought of buying all? You could buy half. The tab could own half of the field, half of the program, own half of the horses at Bathurst on Tuesday. Buy them all. You can buy them for. They're not. You buy them for $400. They're not worth feeding, a lot of them, and throw the TAB colours. You have to have a few sets of colours, different colour hats and whatever, and the TAB, instead of giving them $200 to turn up, you can own them yourself, and to get people to actually back them, well, instead of what you simply do is you change their names to Tom or Dick or Harry and Mary Lou and Alice and Elizabeth and Sally and Johnny and Billy and all the Billies and all the Mary Lou's and the Sallys and the Elizabeths and the Lizzies, and they'll all back their namesake, and you'll be able to get your $400 bucks back that you paid for the horse, and everything will be it'll be honky dory. You just buy a big paddock and let them eat the grass. Don't have to feed them. Just let them run around all the time in those country meetings, and you'll own the horses outright instead of having to give them $200 to turn up all the time. That's the only. If you didn't give them the $200 to turn up, they wouldn't race. Own them yourself. That's the shareholders should put it to the big boys next time they have a shareholders meeting. Fancy having Bathurst after the long weekend, expecting the punters to wake up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to bet on Bathurst. They're cracking jokes. The meeting should have been on today, of course, a non-tab meeting. Then we got Wednesday, and then Thursday, and then more Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Will someone please pull them aside and say, you've actually got to starve the punters a little bit from having a bet, and give them all a chance instead of trying to send them broke by putting a race in front of them, their melon every 30 seconds. That's what someone's got to explain it to them. Good evening.